The wind out there didn't blow, it carved. At minus 73 degrees Celsius in Mongolia, sound dies first, then feeling, then hope. The sky was a pale metal lid pressed down on a world of white bone and black rock. My eyelashes had turned to needles. Every breath crackled inside my scarf, like dry paper tearing. I saw him on a ridgeline, just a shadow at first. A snow leopard, wild, impossible, the kind you only glimpse in documentaries from a safe distance. But he didn't run. He came down toward me with that ghost step, silent paws sinking into powder that could swallow a man. His coat was frosted, whiskers rimmed in ice, ribs showing like a hard truth. And his eyes, they weren't hunting, they were asking. I froze, not from the cold, fear. This was Mongolia's high emptiness. No villages, no roads, just cliffs and wind and the slow math of survival. A snow leopard this close meant one thing, desperation or death. He stopped 10 meters away and lowered his head, then turned and walked a few steps. He looked back, once, then again. Like a man pointing at a fire he couldn't carry alone. I should have walked away. Any sane person would. Frostbite can take fingers in minutes here. A predator can take your throat in seconds. And if his mate was nearby, if there was a cub, if this was a trap of instinct, but something in his posture broke the rules. He wasn't threatening. He was leading. I followed, boots crunching like breaking glass, lungs burning with air so cold it felt sharp. My hands were inside thick mittens, yet I could already feel the numbness climbing. The ridge narrowed into a jagged corridor of rock and drifted snow. The leopard moved ahead, glancing back just enough to make sure I didn't stop. Then I heard it. Not a roar, not a call. A sound so small it almost didn't exist. A thin, broken mew, like a spark trapped under ice. The leopard dropped into a shallow crevice between boulders. He didn't disappear. He waited, pressed low, eyes fixed on me with a tension that made my stomach go tight. He was letting me come closer. He was allowing it. I crouched at the edge and looked down. A cub, tiny, half buried in wind-packed snow, fur clumped with ice. One paw stuck out stiffly as if it had tried to crawl and failed. Its chest barely moved. Not a cry now, just a faint shiver, a trembling surrender. The adult leopard made a sound then, low, guttural, not anger. Something else, a warning to the universe. This was the impossible choice. If I reached down, I risked my hands. If I stayed, I risked my life. If I ran, the cub would be gone before the sun could even pretend to warm this place. My heartbeat hammered in my ears like a drum in a sealed room. I didn't think. I moved. I slid my pack off, tore open my jacket and leaned into the crevice. The rock stole heat through my knees immediately. My glove brushed the cub's fur and it felt wrong. Too rigid, too cold, like touching stone. Behind me, the adult leopard shifted, one step closer. I could feel him without looking, the weight of him, the power, the decision he was making as much as I was. I whispered, not to him, not to the cub, maybe to myself, please. Then I reached further, arms sinking into snow up to my elbows, and lifted the baby out. It was so light it terrified me, and in the instant I pulled it to my chest, the wind hit the cub's face, and the adult leopard let out one sharp breath, like a gasp. I stood slowly, cub pressed under my coat, its tiny body against my ribs. I could feel nothing in my fingers now. My hands were wood, my feet were distant. The cold was winning, patiently, like it always does, and the wild snow leopard followed me, not attacking, not fleeing, following, like he had placed the most fragile thing he owned into the hands of a stranger, and now he had to believe in something he didn't understand. I turned toward my small canvas shelter in the distance, just a dark dot in a white world, and started walking. Each step felt like dragging through water. The cub didn't move. I kept it against my skin anyway, willing my body heat into it, as if I could argue with death by sheer stubborn kindness. Behind me, the leopard's paws made no sound at all. Only my breathing did, and every breath said the same thing. Don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. The tent looked closer than it was. In this cold distance lies. My knees wanted to fold. My lungs felt lined with ice. The cub was still a small, terrible weight under my coat, too light, too quiet. I kept one arm locked around it like a promise. With the other, I fought the zipper, my fingers clumsy, numb, refusing to obey. Behind me, the snow leopard stopped. I didn't turn at first. I felt him there the way you feel thunder before you hear it. When I finally looked, he stood, just beyond the tent's shadow, body low, tail slow, eyes bright as flint. He didn't come any closer. He was letting me do this. He was also warning me, hurry. Inside the tent, the air was only slightly less deadly. Fabric snapped in the wind. My stove sat where I'd left it, like a tool waiting to decide if it cared. I dropped to my knees, dragged the cub to my chest, and struck the igniter. Nothing. Again. A click-dot that sounded too small. My hands were shaking now. Not fear, not cold. Panic. Pure animal panic. The kind that makes you want to scream at physics. I forced myself to breathe slowly, because fast breathing steals warmth. I remembered that. I remembered every rule you learn in training and forget the moment real life puts a dying thing in your arms. I primed the stove, tried again. The fuel caught with a soft whoosh, a blue flame blooming like a secret. Heat began to rise, thin and precious. I shoved the pot over it, melted snow, and the steam fogged the air with something that felt like mercy. The cub lay on my sleeping mat, wrapped in my spare base layer. I put my gloved hand on its ribcage, feeling for movement. Nothing, or almost nothing. A long, shallow pause, then a whisper of breath so faint I doubted it was real. "Come on," I said, voice hoarse. "Just, come on." I warmed water and soaked a cloth, then pressed it gently against the cub's paws and belly, trying to bring the blood back without shocking its body. I rubbed slowly, carefully, like you touch a wound you're afraid will open wider. The cub's fur was damp where the ice melted, and the skin beneath was cold enough to make my stomach turn. Outside, the wind slammed into the tent, and then another sound, a low rumbling growl. Not inside, not close, right outside the fabric, the adult snow leopard. He was still there. He hadn't abandoned it. He hadn't gone to hunt, to hide, to accept the loss the way wild animals are supposed to. He was waiting, like a father waiting outside an operating room, too proud to beg again, too desperate to leave. I swallowed hard. My throat burned with the air. I poured a few drops of warmed water onto my finger and touched the cub's mouth. Its lips were stiff. I waited, then tried again, slow, patient. Seconds felt like hours. The stove hissed softly. The tent fluttered. My own heartbeat filled the silence like a drum. Then the miracle came the way miracles always come, quietly, like they don't want to be noticed. The cub's tongue moved. A tiny, weak flick against my finger. I froze. Did I imagine it? I touched again. This time the cub swallowed. A small contraction, barely there, but real. A living choice. Air left my chest in a shaky laugh that turned into something wetter, something I didn't want to name. I blinked hard because tears here can freeze and cut, and because I didn't want the world to see me crack. The cub's paw twitched. A sound, thin, broken, but unmistakably a cry, scraped out of its throat. It was the smallest sound in the harshest place on earth, and it shattered me. I fed it warm drops in measured patience, the way you feed hope when it's too fragile to chew. I kept rubbing warmth into its limbs, kept my body close, kept the stove alive like a heartbeat we all depended on. Outside, the adult snow leopard paced. I could hear his steps now and then, soft compressions of snow, a shift of weight, a circle. Sometimes he stopped so close the tent wall bowed slightly with the wind and his presence behind it. Hours passed like that, or maybe it was minutes. Time is strange when survival is the only clock. By the time the light outside dulled into a deeper gray, the cub could lift its head for a second. Its eyes opened, cloudy, unfocused, and then closed again. But it was breathing on its own now, steady enough to count. I unzipped the tent a fraction, letting a blade of cold air cut inside. He was there immediately. The snow leopard stood in the snow like a carved statue, breath rising from his nose in white bursts. His ears were forward, his body tense, muscles ready. One wrong move and I knew what he could do. One wrong move and every documentary warning would become my last memory. This was the most dangerous moment, because now the cub was alive, and alive means worth fighting for. I held the cub against my chest, wrapped, the little head nestled under my chin. I stepped out slowly, knees bent, shoulders lowered. I didn't stand tall. I didn't claim space. I made myself smaller. I kept my eyes soft, not staring, not challenging. I turned my body slightly sideways, the way you show you're not here to dominate. I let my free hand hang open, palm visible, fingers spread, useless as a plea. The adult snow leopard took one step forward. The snow didn't crunch under him the way it did under me. He moved like the wind moves, without effort. His gaze flicked to the bundle, then to my face, then back to the bundle. He didn't blink. In that stare, there was an entire wild world, hunger, danger, instinct, distrust. But underneath it, there was something else, so rare it felt like I wasn't allowed to witness it. A question. Was I finished? Was I giving the baby back? Or was I stealing what he could never get back if I walked away? My throat tightened. I'm not taking him, I whispered, voice torn by cold. I'm just trying. I knelt in the snow, painfully, and lowered the cub onto a patch of my jacket I'd spread on the ground, keeping my hands close but not touching. The cub made a small sound and shifted, trying to curl. The adult leopard flinched, just a twitch, but he didn't charge. He came closer. 5 meters. 3. His fur rippled with tension. His tail moved once, slow as a warning. He stopped close enough that I could see scars along his nose, could see the frost on his whiskers, could see the raw exhaustion in his eyes. I lowered my head, not because I was afraid, though I was, but because in that moment, fear was not the most important thing in the world. The cub was. The snow leopard leaned down and sniffed the cub. His nose touched the tiny body, and the cub let out a weak cry that rose and fell like a thread. The adult leopard inhaled again, deeper this time. And then his tongue came out, rough and careful, and he licked the cub's head. Once, twice. The cub's body relaxed in a way I didn't expect, like it recognized that texture, that scent, that truth. The snow leopard lifted his head and looked at me again. This time there was no question. There was a decision. He didn't growl. He didn't bare his teeth. He simply stepped around the cub, placing himself between it and me, not threatening, just claiming. held still, my breath trapped in my lungs until the cold forced it out in a trembling exhale. The snow leopard gathered the cub in his mouth, so gently it almost didn't seem possible, and lifted it. The cub dangled like a scrap of life, but it didn't fight. It didn't panic. It just trusted the grip that had always been home. He turned away, started toward the rocks. Then he stopped. He didn't look back fully. Wild animals don't perform gratitude like people do. But his head tilted, just a fraction, as if he had heard something only he could hear, a final acknowledgement. And then he moved into the white distance, the cub carried against the storm, disappearing the way snow leopards always do, like a rumor returning to the mountain. I stood there until my legs shook, until the cold bit hard enough to remind me I was human and breakable. I watched the empty ridge, the place where he had been, the place where he was no longer. When I finally went back inside the tent, the heat felt unreal. My hands ached as feeling returned, sharp pain blooming like punishment. I sat on the mat, staring at the doorway, because part of me expected him to come back. Part of me didn't want him to. Hours later, when the wind eased for a moment, I stepped outside again. In the snow near my tent, there were tracks, adult paw prints, clean, deliberate. But beside them, smaller marks, tiny impressions, uneven, as if a baby had been set down, had shifted, had breathed. And next to those little marks, something else. A single feather, dark, almost black, laid on the snow like it had been placed there on purpose. There were no birds flying at -73°C. Not here, not in this dead wind. I didn't know where it came from. I couldn't explain it. Maybe it had been caught in the leopard's fur. Maybe it had been in the crevice. Maybe the mountain had simply decided to leave a sign for someone foolish enough to choose kindness over safety. I picked it up, and the feather was stiff with frost, light as air. I looked back toward the ridge. Far away, a shape moved, just for a second, against the white. A ghost crossing the world. He didn't come closer. He didn't need to. He just stood on the edge of distance. And for one heartbeat-long moment, his head turned toward me. Then he was gone. That night, alone in the thin warmth of my tent, I understood something I hadn't fully believed before. Kindness between species isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It happens in silence, in frost, in moments where instinct could choose violence and instead chooses restraint. In the cruelest cold on earth, a wild snow leopard did something more dangerous than attacking. He trusted. And I did something more irrational than surviving. I answered, because sometimes the strongest thing in nature isn't teeth or claws or the will to endure. Sometimes it's the quiet decision to not walk away when another living soul, no matter how different, looks at you and asks without words to be human.